This past week, I had the opportunity to attend the Enactus South African national competition that was held at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg. Enactus is a global organization with members in universities across 30 countries. The objective of the organization is to get students to solve problems using entrepreneurship. While I was attending the competition, I had the opportunity to meet students, faculty, business leaders, as well as alumni, which I also happen to be alumni of this organization. I want to share a conversation that I had with Dr. Mdaka, who is a lecturer at the Northwich University. She lectures entrepreneurship as well as strategic management, and also one of the faculty advisors at Enactus Northwich University. Let's just quickly jump into the conversation that I had with Dr.
How
Lerato.
do you think our higher education is preparing students to become employers?
Yeah, that's an interesting question that you're asking me because I think there's starting to be that shift from creating not just graduates who are employable, but graduates who in turn employ. And so I think what we're finding in institutions is that they're shifting towards being the entrepreneurial universities. So they're not just educating students in entrepreneurship, but they're also equally equipping the students to be entrepreneurs themselves. And so I think in terms of initiatives, if I had to talk about the Northwest University in general, or just some of the initiatives I've seen, I think there's more the shift towards creating that entrepreneurial mindset. It's not enough to just say an entrepreneur is this and this, or this is what entrepreneurship is about, but really creating that shift in a student's mindset towards becoming entrepreneurial. So throwing in them in situations where they're required to take risks, where they're required to think beyond what they would do generally, and so you're throwing them in those circumstances.
I mean, I recently read a study done by the Global Entrepreneurship Monitors. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
sure.
that says South Africa is ranked 45th out of like 50 countries which they did the study with, right?
Yeah.
And one would be a little bit worried, thinking, are we really making an impact? And I mean, we also look at the unemployment rate that we have in South Africa, and is there really a movement in terms of entrepreneurship and to bring about the impact we want to see?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the word impact because it that's the operative word. I think we're in a space now. What I'm seeing is that you find students think entrepreneurship is just getting that bag. You know, I'm making money, I'm feeding family at home, we're good to go, and that's it. And sometimes when that's the mindset going in, that's when it becomes harder, because when the hurdles of true entrepreneurship come, you end up not knowing necessarily what you can't overcome that steep learning curve, if I can call it that. Um, so I think there needs to be a shift in what we think about when we think about entrepreneurship, and again, you see globally the perspective, or the idea around entrepreneurship is focused specifically on social entrepreneurship. They don't even call it social entrepreneurship anymore. We just call it entrepreneurship. But at the essence of it, you're finding that the core of these businesses are making an impact in their communities. And by impact, again, you know this. It's the triple P's. Impact in your society, impact on the planet, and of course making that profit. I think that's the core of what students or businesses should focus on going forward. How do you intentionally contribute towards making the world a better place, like the
Yeah,
Enactus ethos? Are we seeing progress?
yeah,
Um, no, but it's because we don't know how to measure the progress. I think people are trying, people are starting uh, entrepreneurial ventures, etc. But no one really knows how to measure whether they're hitting the right mark or not. We're hitting, but we're not even sure if we're aiming at the right place. And so I think that's what we need to find our footing, if I can say that. Yeah. Without being too much of a lecturer, the difference between, let me say, an invention and an innovation is that when you're inventing, something, you've invented it and it's staying under your bed. You know, your
Okay.
ability to commercialize what you've invented and bring value to the people through what you've invented, then qualifies that as an innovation
All right.
from a textbook theory perspective, if I can say that. And so the idea that I'm trying to share is, I think innovation relates to your ability to create true value. You know, because
Okay.
when you've got value in your mind, how you how, how you take on various tasks and roles, and you know, I mean, innovation can be innovating the process or the product, or it can be radical or incremental, etc. But the idea is, in my head, is because you've got value in your mind. Because when
Okay.
you're constantly thinking about the value it brings to the end user, there becomes a shift in the way that you're offering whatever that thing is, the
All right.
product, or the process in which you offer the product, or whatever, you know. But that's my thought in terms of trying to wrap my head around innovation, because it's such a buzzword, not a buzzword, but we talk about, I'm an innovative this and I innovate like this, but what is that really? You know,
Yeah.
how does that look tangibly? You know,
Yeah.
because we all say we're innovators, but how do we measure that? You
Yeah.
know, and I think I would suggest looking at value creation,
All right.
because if it didn't create true value, I don't know if it was really out of the norm, because the idea is that it's out of the norm.
Where do we stand in terms of our innovation? I mean, like, yes, you can take it from the context of the Northwest, but bring it
Yeah.
into South Africa. Where do we stand in terms of innovation and bringing about the value, and being able to also commercialize,
Yeah.
those ideas, those inventions, and
Yeah,
that?
yeah. For me, I think it's about going back to basics. You know, we've got what, 49 mil odd people, and most of the time, and you see it even with the students generally in Enactus, most of the time you're coming up with these amazing apps, you're coming up with these amazing programs, but when you think about the core of it, it's serving easily less than 20% of the actual population. Because the reality of it is that more than 70, 80 odd don't have access to digital platforms in the country, don't have access to these various things that we think are innovation. So I would go back and think frugal, you know, go back and think, yeah, create frugal like inventions for the community, by the community, through the community. That way it serves a real community need, instead of coming out and saying, hey, let's try this or let's do this. So where do we stand in terms of innovation? I think we need to include the voice of the people more in entrepreneurship conversations. In spaces like this, it would be great if the voice of a said person who's a community leader is also present, where
Yeah.
a keynote or a discussion is the voice of someone from the mountains of Kwamnyamani, which is a small village that has a ample amount of resources, but they're
Yeah.
not equipped and they don't know how to use them. You know, I think we need to include um, the 90% in the conversation we're having with the 30%.
All right, all right. So I guess maybe that's how Enactors comes in, because we
Yes.
deploy students to go out and
Yes.
be the ones that actually get to engage with the community.
Yeah. That's the value that I think Enactus brings, is that it's by the people, for the people, through the people, and so it's
Yeah. So talking about Enactors, so if you had to give advice to an Enactors team, right, and because it's not about competition, it's about really making that impact, in the community they're actually doing. So if you had to give an advice to the team, in terms of innovation and you know how they can actually use innovation to maybe tackle some of the problems and challenges they actually face with in their communities, and not necessarily stick to just how things are done, but really bring about those new ideas. What is it you can actually advise in terms of that?
we need to make a mind shift, or we need to shift from competitive advantage to collaborative advantage. I was saying this with a friend of ours the other day, but I think that that's where the shift will come. It's not how do you as your organization create a competitive advantage, it's how do we create an ecosystem where we can have a collaborative advantage. I think that's what's missing in the conversation when it comes to entrepreneurship, because it's a Me Too enterprise, But if we had to put our forces or mindsets together, I think we're able to create something that has far more impact. And so collaboration over competition, and naturally, where there's collaboration, there is an increased presence of value creation, which obviously impacts our ability to innovate. That's what I would suggest. The saying, the strength of the wine is in the cluster of the grapes.
Wisdom there.
Yeah. So it isn't about how can I progress and make the impact, but it's how can as the cluster of the grapes, how can we make that change? And I would advise, when the minute you think this one, that's when you don't run away from, run to the this one, because it's likely that in that clashing of different perspectives, we're able to create organizations that shift the entire narrative in terms of entrepreneurship in the country. Yeah, so I would say embrace collaboration, especially with the people you would least want to collaborate with, because I think, like I said, strength in the cluster of the grapes, not in the individual grapey, whatever that means.
Yeah. No, awesome stuff. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who want to start something or have been saying they want to start something but have not started?
So naturally, one would say just go for it, right? But I understand the fear of starting, and so rub shoulders with those that have started, rub shoulders with those that are at places where you aspire to be. And it doesn't necessarily mean go rub shoulders with executive CEOs or etc., but there might be people within your community that have started to make those little changes that inspire you. And so start engaging with those people, because the saying, you're the average of the people that you're around. And so when you're scared and you don't necessarily want to start, surround yourself with people who run toward fear rather than repel from it, because that will generally rub off and they'll encourage you to start. And again, it speaks to the importance of collaborative advantage. A person is a person with other people, etc. That's really important. So that's my advice. I wouldn't say, hey man, go for it and start, because we all say that. But I would say rub shoulders with those who are at a level, even if it's a little bit above where you're at, so that you can tap into. What do you think? What would you advise? You're an entrepreneur, actually. You've started. What made you go from not starting to let's go?
Yeah, no. I think true. I think that is actually, I've never looked at it in that way. Because I think I suffered a lot because I did a lot of things alone. And I realized that, certain things I struggled with, that I could have actually gotten help if I just reached out to people. And there's always amazing people who are always willing to assist, And I think that would have actually accelerated my growth, especially in the beginning stages, and that
Definitely, there's more for you than there is against you. We just need to believe that. We just need to believe that there are more who are for my success than those who are against it. And when you're in the entrepreneurship space, definitely more for than against. So rub shoulders with those people.
Absolutely. No. So I think that for me is just something that I'm actually now thinking about. I think that's very important. And and I mean, it's also just reaching out to someone. I want to start. Where do I go? They'll give you directions as to where to go. And already by you making that step, that's the first step. And just be consistent from there.
And the reaching out is also not easy. Because it's okay, now I'm putting myself out there, now I might get rejected or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, entrepreneurship is about vulnerability as well. And so that's how you're taking that first, you're in the you're a step in the right direction is when you're feeling that state of vulnerability, I think, and allow yourself to feel, to be in that space so that you can grow and become whatever that entrepreneurship venture is that you want. Yeah.
No, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. No, thank you so much. I think this is very valuable. And whoever's listening, watching this, I think there's a lot of nuggets they can actually take out of this. And
Yeah.
something more than anything else, you're not alone. Do not stand in isolation. You're not alone. And you're not in isolation. Don't be alone. And just go out there and do it. You don't have to have it all intact. Just go there and do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's from me and Lerato. Thank you so much again for this
It
time.
was awesome, Jack. It was awesome. I enjoyed it. Anytime. Let's rub shoulders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Once again, thank you so much, Lerato, for availing yourself and for this beautiful conversation. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you're watching this and you have any comment or you have any questions, please feel free to put them on the comment section below. And don't forget to also subscribe, because your subscription would mean that you will always be engaged and continue catching up on conversations that we are having on this channel. That's from me, Jack. Hope you have an awesome day.